I wanted to replace the old analog meters on my Grand Banks 32 as they were all from 1986 and had Michael Garrettson from Sea and Land Yacht Works advise me how to do the work and what needed replacing. He suggested we replace all the batteries and all the wires and put new switches in. As you can see, the design work was fabulous. We decided to go with Blue Sea Systems ACR switches. These are automatic switches that disconnect and connect the batteries when they're in different states of charge. I ended up building the two panels in my shop, and that way they'd be all pretty much ready to go and installed on the boat, making it so much easier. The controllers for the ACR had some fairly complicated wiring. At least for me they were complicated, so I had to really look at the schematic and get it done right. Here is a good detail of the battery switch, and of course all the right tools are very important with bits and pieces to put it all together. Installing the panels was pretty straightforward and pretty simple, and I'm so glad that I did all the work in the shop, as I couldn't imagine making and fitting all the bits and pieces onto the panels, actually trying to crawl through the small space in the engine room to get it all done. So this gives you a good idea of the detail of what I'd done and what it looked like. Now it was time to push the wires through and start connecting everything up. The old holes had to be covered by a new plexi plate which Mike designed and milled on his CNC router at his shop in Narragansett. This was key, as that was the finish that I was looking for, and it had to look professional and nicely installed. Time to go back to the engine room and run all the wires, which luckily I had labeled correctly. Time to plug them all into the panel on their various different connecting points. Mike came by on a regular basis just to check on what I was doing and also answer the questions that I had on a list for him. This was invaluable. Without his help, there's no way I could have done this installation. Here I'm installing the master battery switch. You get an idea of what the wiring was like and what the challenges were for me. Everything's nicely labeled, and so it's fairly straightforward to put together. As you can see, crawling into the small engine room was tight. Once everything was run, I used zip ties to tie everything together in nice bundles, and this would prevent chafe or any weird wires hanging around in the wrong place. Big Day had arrived for us to install the three 4D Lifeline AGM batteries. I had Chris Powell help me, as this was definitely a two-man job. I used pieces of plywood to slide these heavy 100-pound batteries into position. Obviously, good, reliable batteries and a great, well-designed wiring system are key to keep the boat running. One of the last pieces of gear I wanted to install in the engine room was Blue Sea Systems tank monitoring sensor, and this I had to use the hole saw to cut a hole in the holding tank. A lovely job, but it ended up all working nicely, and now I can see exactly what the state of, or how full the tank is. I had used solar panels on Snook on my previous boat and wanted to do the same again this time. I ended up using Ferris Power Systems 2 by 100 watt solar panels, and these worked beautifully, and on a good day I could get 10 amps of power. Well, here's the final product. The panel is complete. You can see how everything fits beautifully. I can see exactly what all the batteries are doing, what's coming in, what's going out. This is what we started with, and this is what we ended with. I'm happy.